teaches, and you can choose to carry certain parts of it in your life if you want. You can devote your life to it. You can practice it. I think that's between you and yourself. So I think the way I look at religion is the same way I would look at sheet music. So far, if I'm going to follow something, I want to completely and utterly devote myself to it. I don't want to half-ass something. I don't want to be a Muslim on Monday, a Sunni on Tuesday. I want to do it entirely.
Okay, so which state you are in now in terms of when it comes to the questions whether God exists or not?
I don't question that. It's not a question I stay up thinking about.
No, what's your position on this? Like,
does God exist?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it doesn't keep me up at night not knowing.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it should keep.
I suppose I don't know, and I don't mind not knowing.
Okay.
But what makes a good human, I think that would probably keep me up at night.
Okay, it's kind of response like Dr. Richard Dawkins gave when he was interviewed about the God deletion, and all of the other writings he gave.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important question if we think about the existence of the universe. You don't need to think about Islam, or you don't need to think about any other faith to ask these questions whether God exists or not. Let alone practicing. You can question it from a free mind, outside of the religion, outside of the religious scripture, outside of social box, outside of your thinking, or outside of your any social pressure. You can ask freely whether the creator, if we say, okay, God is a word which is delusional for you, then you can ask whether the creator exists or not. Because if you, for example, the deductive methodology, that's how things work. So if we, in our real life, if we see something, for example, I can say, if I see a book, for sure there is a writer, right? So if I see another book, for example, I see 10 books. One is by Charles Darwin, another one is by Isaac Newton, another one is by, for example, Richard Dawkins. All of the things, and I go to another country, for example, Somalia, or I went to Egypt or somewhere else, and someone show me a book. So can I really think that this book doesn't have a writer?
Yeah. Oh, you're saying, I suppose I recognize there's people. I can see that there's people. But I also don't mind not knowing where those people.
That's fine. That's completely fine. But I'm coming from a logical understanding, because as we see this from our practical life, every books have a writer, right?
Even if I finish this conversation and say, okay, there's a God, it still wouldn't be Islam that I would follow.
Yeah, no problem. We can go to this. We can go to this, no problem. Because we need to understand the premise first, right? I'm not saying you have to become Muslim, or you have to become Jewish or Jew.
My parents are Muslims.
Okay.
And I suppose being a child of Muslims, I was born into a Muslim family.
Okay.
And then I went off to study Islam. And the more I studied it, the more I was like, this isn't for me. But it doesn't deduct that it's got some beautiful scriptures. I approach it as if you would poetry or mythology.
It's up to you. Like different people approach Islam differently, approach Christianity differently, approach Judaism differently. It's up to you. But what I'm saying, if we took the basic premise,
is there a God?
Yeah. So
that's your basic premise.
No, that's like the fundamental basic premise. For
you. That's a question you are dedicating your life to finding.
I'm not dedicating my life only for I have my kids, I have my family, I have everything. So I'm not just stuck in one question.
The first thing is to serve God above your. I know you love your wife. I know you love your kids, but your obedience and your duty is to your God, which is a beautiful thing. That's lovely.
Those things are subjective, right?
But is it not? Is God not your number one?
Yeah, it is. Yes. It is number one. But those things are subjective when it comes to the questions. When it comes to the question whether the God is exist or not, because then you need to go, you need to scrutinize those things. Which God I'm serving? Am I serving the Christian God? Am I serving the Jewish God? Am I serving the Muslims God? Am I serving the Hindus God? That's completely different scenario and completely different discussion. But when it comes to the God itself, like that's the reason I changed the word from the God to the Creator. right?
But that's what I'm saying. My question and the way I carry life is I don't mind not knowing if there's a creator. I really don't mind because I suppose I used to have a lot of religious anxiety about what came before me and what's going to come after me, and it caused a lot of turmoil. So now all I can do is focus on what there is during me, and right now during me there's obviously stuff like racism, climate change, and there's also beautiful stuff like music and people and conversations. And my job in this world is to focus on making every day that I'm alive better, I think.
So I think those are the things we can discuss, like the racism, and you said the climate change, all of the things.
That's stuff that if you and I were sitting out here making conversation, I would probably be more interested in.
But isn't it like the social structure made us think that these are the things which is most important than any of the things? For example, the racism. When you have the 2 billionaire men, they will never consider, oh, are you black or are you white? Because both are billionaire, and they'll come to a point. But when it comes to only the higher class and lower class, in that time we got the racism, this race or that race. Racism, these things. If I put these things in a box where these things are made by social construction and the social things, then I shouldn't consider those things as the highest priority of my life. Neither the climate change. If I don't have the food, I don't care about the climate change. If you ask a Somalian person who is like dying from the hunger, they'll never take anything at all seriously. That okay, I'm dying, and you are saying the iceberg is
hunger and starvation came because of structural things.
You can say, but at the same time, it's the hunger.
Also, religion is a structural thing. If the Prophet Muhammad preached and nobody listened, it would only be one man believing one thing, and then he would have died, and the thing would have died.
Then the question is why they listened it, and what was the reason?
But there's also many things.
I think you studied Islam, as you said, and you said maybe it's no problem. So what's the reason for that?
Why wasn't it for me?
Yeah.
I like to look at it as a literary point of view, and reading it as a piece of literature. I was like, it's more like a book I wouldn't read again. So,
for example, note something that you think you don't read again.
Something I wouldn't read again. I wouldn't read American Psycho again. It's a great film, very violent.
No, from the Quran.
From the Quran.
Yeah.
I don't believe in a heaven or hell. I don't believe in praying 5 times a day. I don't believe that menstruation should be a reason why women can't pray. I don't believe in men having 4 wives. I don't believe that certain meat is forbidden. I don't believe that a tattoo will remove you from your creator, that you can't pray. I don't believe in the fact that every religion advocates peace the same way politicians advocate peace, but these are the biggest contributors to all the wars that we've had. But then there is some stories where I was like, oh, that's such a beautiful story. Noah and the Ark, a symbolism of cleansing evil.
So then your premise will be, if I don't agree on some of the things a book says, then maybe it's not necessarily important for me, isn't it?
I think so, because at the end of the day, it's me that follows the book.
Okay, excellent. So if a book says that alcohol is bad for your life, or for you, would you still consider it harmful for you?
I think if the logic makes sense. I always say to somebody, I don't mind if I disagree with you, but if you can logically tell me how you got there.
Okay, so how it's logically harmful for the people?
It makes you intoxicated, it can make you violent,
which things?
It takes your money.
Yeah, which
alcohol.
things?
Alcohol.
Yeah, no, I'm saying from the Quran you quote something, how these things logically doesn't make sense.
To me?
Yeah.
I suppose I don't think that spirituality is... So if I have tattoos, for example, I don't think that would stop the water from the wudu covering me. Even if I have tattoos, I can still pray. Even if I'm bleeding, I can still pray. Because praying is a conversation, not just an act. And I realized that Islam was too focused on the metaphysical, and I was like, I don't agree with that. I think there's a soul in you as there is a soul in me, and that is what I want to connect with. not the physical.
So do you think?
Because as you say, the physical is bullshit, isn't it? Like racism, and like environment.
No, depends on like which physically you said. If you say this, the police is trying to like hold a thief.
Yeah.
It's not the bullshit because it's necessary in this very moment to hold this thief to protect other people.
The police, the construction and the use of the police is very.
No, then in this scale, then you can't get a society itself because if you oppose on every single laws and the regulations of the society, then the point will be in what basis a society will construct.
Yeah,
Then we
so
have
I
to
think
live
for me-
without the society.
I live in the society, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I can't say I agree with every law it's created. Obviously not. Some of the laws are very, very backwards. Some of the laws are very unfair. But I do have to live.
I think from the discussion, I think you come from a very emotional point when it comes to the Islam. Maybe I'm mistaken, but you can correct me.
I think
Yes.
spiritual. I want to connect with
But
my
depends
soul.
on like if you don't agree on the concept, if you don't agree on even the concept of God, or if you don't have certain understanding of the God, then what's the spirituality you are talking about? If you don't have the concept of the spirituality, because concept of the spirituality come from a certain religious background. So if you don't agree on the premise of those backgrounds
But
and
there
the,
was spirituality before there was religion.
tell me one.
Like even when people were praying to the sun, and then obviously a prophet came and said, "Guys, it's not the sun you need to pray to." It's
And
the
what
creator
they
of the
thought?
sun."
What they thought?
Well, it depends.
No, they thought the sun is the one who is creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they believed in the God and they believed in.
Gods. Some people believed in multiple gods.
That excellent point. That's the reason I am saying this. That you have to you have to either agree on the premise that there is a creator. Then, if you have the creator itself at the first
don't
point,
agree with that.
no problem, no problem. That's the reason I'm
I
saying
think
this.
that's
That
my problem,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the problem. This if you saying this I don't agree with the premise of God, then you can't get that spirituality at all.
But
Because
I'm spiritual and I don't believe in God.
that's the reason I'm saying this, that you are kind of emotional spiritual, which doesn't have the connection with the like premise. Because if you don't have the premise at first place,
I'm spiritual, and so as a result of that, I say I'm not going to drink because it will probably make me a bad person.
it's subjective, sister.
Yeah,
It is
so-
like end of the day, it is subjective. You can
Yeah,
make up
so-
your own mind, and you
yeah,
can.
so-
Some people worship tree, and they say I feel spirituality.
True to it.
You see?
Yeah,
so
so to
so
me-
it's your own subjective
Yeah,
things.
definitely, and that's why I always say like the same way I look at Islam is the same way I look at a different text. I'm like, there's some beauty in it, but it hasn't won my heart yet.
Because you are coming from a very emotional point of view.
But should it not be emotional? Islam is emotional. Islam's very emotional.
It is emotional, but it has a logical premise as well.
Logic, no. No.
Tell me what is illogical.
It's illogical that I
Tell-
can't pray
te-
because I'm bleeding.
Do you understand the tahara and the pureness, purity?
And it's such a logical thing that it requires other people to come and educate you on it.
Sorry?
Whenever I couldn't agree with something, the first thing a Muslim person would say to me was, "But have you heard of insert Islamic term?" Or, "What about this interpretation?" But sister, you'll read it, and I understand. It's very, maybe I've got a misinterpretation of something, and it's important to get clarification.
But do you not think that if you misunderstand anything, that you should ask someone who understands those things?
Yeah,
So
but
why it
let's-
is
let's
like
say
even
it's-
for a medical, you are a student, you graduated from university.
Yeah.
So even if you mistake on something
But why
in
is it
your
a
course,
mistake?
what
So let's say
2 plus 2? I said 3.
No. Let's say there's a rule that I do something to you, and you go, "Whoa, that doesn't sit right with me," and everybody says to you, "No, you got it wrong. You need to hear this person's view of my name's Siva. You need to hear this person's view of Siva, and you have to have this interpretation of Siva and this." And they're lovely. They're definitely good for clarification, but it's not the other people's clarification that I take home with me. It's my
If you're a
interpretation.
special sister, if you're special on medicine, right? My background is biomedical,
But that's
right?
always changing.
No, that's fine. If you're special on something, then I shouldn't show my ego to learn something from you, isn't it?
No, yeah, definitely.
Excellent point. So if you're misunderstanding something from the Quran and someone quoting it, this is your misunderstanding.
Yeah.
You should go into this. I don't see any problem
Yeah,
to
same.
do
So
this.
I
Yeah.
spoke to-
Yes. If even if what's your study? What was your study? Law. Excellent point. I didn't study law.
Yeah.
If I say something which goes against the nature of law, whatever the law is, right?
Do not murder. Let's say
For
do not
example,
murder. Yeah.
and I got it right. I didn't say, for example, I didn't read do not, this part. I just read murder, yeah? For example.
So you
or
do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
What you will say? Hold on a moment.
You've interpreted it wrong. That's
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah, because I should listen to you because you are an expert on this field. Yes, I'm not.
But religion shouldn't be ran by experts. Law, fine. Religion is an independent, private, spiritual
No.
faithful thing.
Excellent point. I agree partially.
That's usually why Islam
sister.
has so much, like,
No.
or Christianity has so many sects. It's
Sister,
just
sister,
interpretations.
sister, I agree with you partially.
Yeah.
In terms of relation with the God, there is none between you and God. Yes?
Yeah.
But in terms of the understanding the scripture,
Yeah.
you should understand from the scholar.
Why?
Because if you are special, for example, if you have the speciality on those things, you studied university, for example.
Do you not think it's crazy that something as private as religion requires scholars to help you understand it?
Can you show me anything, any study at all?
Yeah.
Any study which doesn't require a scholar to interpret? Any study in this world?
Any study?
Yes, any study.
Let's think. I like to paint, okay? And I paint privately and I paint for myself. It's for me. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it to show off. I'm not doing it to sell it.
Did you learn from someone?
My art? No,
Yes.
unfortunately I didn't. I paint what I like to feel. And the value of that, my relationship with my art.
But
is
then,
mine.
then you can't really say it is like an art in a standard level, because like I can draw something.
There's level to deen, there's level to faith.
Come on, that's the point. Come to the understanding that if you just say, for example, I take the Quran and I interpret something, right? Some verses which reveal at the time of sister. Yeah, hold on a second. Some verses which reveal at the time of the jihad, right?
Yeah.
At the time of war. And I'm taking this scripture.
Yeah, because
Coming to the
interpretations can be different based on the society.
coming
I
to the
agree.
people and doing mass killing. And what I'm saying from the scripture.
But that did happen. The Ottoman Empire,
Yeah.
the Islamic Empire, that did happen.
Tell me one, where the Ottoman Empire did the mass killing.
I'm Kurdish.
What?
I'm Kurdish. The Turkish people believe that the way we interpreted Islam was different, and they made it illegal for us to speak our language. Now, is that Islam's fault? No. Maybe Turkey interpreted it wrong.
But do you understand now that's why it is important to get the knowledge from the right person?
But can you understand why it looks bad to me if I see something bad? And
No.
the first defense
Sister.
is that was
No.
misinterpreted.
Look,
I think
there
accountability
is
important.
yeah, there is a limit, yeah?
There's nothing wrong with you saying there's some bad in Islam. Nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in you admitting that some things have gone wrong. There's nothing wrong with you saying, that interpretation is wrong.
Let me give the interpretation
And
of
that's
this.
why I don't like Islam
Yeah, no
or
problem.
any religion.
No problem,
because
no
there
problem.
is